Hello friends! Today's video will be dedicated to our friends who cannot speak our language, but who need our help and care. As you may have guessed, we will be talking about animals that found themselves in difficult and dangerous situations. Fortunately, they were lucky enough to meet real heroes on their way, who didn't remain indifferent to their suffering and extended their helping hand. Sometimes our seemingly insignificant actions can change the lives of animals. We often forget that they aren't the only living beings on this planet and that our life is inextricably linked with the life of other creatures. When we encounter animals that are in danger, we can choose to help and come to their rescue. This bear stood by the garbage can for a long time. Apparently, her cubs had fallen inside. She was very lucky that some brave and kind people decided not to drive past, but found the courage to help their ferocious predator get her cubs. A little monkey couldn't watch the helpless kitten perish in the well. The monkey couldn't get it out on its own, so it tried calling people for help. The kitten was saved, and the monkey continued to take care of it. Just look at them. This is definitely the beginning of a great friendship. For 6 years, the crocodile lived with a tire stuck around its neck. He suffered greatly trying to get rid of it on its own, but all of its attempts to break free failed. Finally, the crocodile asked people for help, and they did. They used their knowledge to free the animal from its trap, and the crocodile was very relieved. A little camel fell into a hole in the desert, and there was no one around to help it. By some miracle, this man came by and returned the calf to its mother. During one of the forest fires, the rescuer noticed an orphaned baby kangaroo and managed to pull it out of the fire virtually at the last second. The animal was incredibly frightened, but the team of professionals helped it, and now the kangaroo lives in the reserve. A badger cub lost its family in a forest fire, but it didn't want to die. Thus, it decided to run after a person in hopes of finding a new family. And now, it has its own home and even a best friend. No one noticed this little hedgehog who was dying of thirst on the sidewalk, but this man didn't pass by and helped the animal. You have to agree, saving someone's life can be very simple sometimes. And this man found a small hedgehog with its head stuck in a plastic bottle. He brought it to his workshop and used a screwdriver and a lighter to carefully get the animal out of the trap. The hare got stuck between the bars of the fence and was loudly calling for help. A man heard the animal's cries and rescued it. The deer fell into a fast river and couldn't fight the strong current. Fortunately, a family was resting nearby and the man came up with a way to get the animal out of the water. 2 deer grappled with their antlers and fell into a cold river. They would have surely died without this man's help. Sometimes people can help even the biggest and scariest animals in the world. Once, a group of divers came across a huge whale shark. It swam up to them and asked for help. The shark was suffering from the pain caused by this rope. Fortunately, the divers didn't get scared and managed to help it. The deer tried to cross the river, but there was a can stuck to its face, so the animal couldn't see anything. The people on the boat tried to help the deer, but the animal was very frightened and went further and further out in fear. The situation got worse because the water began to fill the can and the deer could have drowned. However, a group of people managed to quickly remove the can from the animal's face, and the deer was able to swim to the shore on its own. The baby elephant had to stand on its feet for 3 days to avoid drowning in the pit. People tried to pull it out, but they failed. Then they found an excavator, which they used to save the little animal. The little goats got tangled up in the ropes. By the time the owner noticed it, one of them had already started choking. The man reacted quickly and gave the kit CPR. It is impossible to watch these shots without tears. The little koala was left all alone when its family died in a forest fire. This woman became the guardian angel for the baby. She saved its life and gave it love, care, and support. The little raccoons got trapped when they jumped into a trash can looking for food, but they got lucky. This man used a plank to help get them out. He didn't leave even the weakest ones behind. These dogs got the man's attention to get him to help their drowning friend. The dog's life was saved. This is what true friendship is. The wolf was injured and couldn't get out of the icy river on its own. When rescuers got to the animal, it was severely hypothermic and needed resuscitation. Luckily, the wolf was rescued and is now doing well. The man let his dog swim in the river, but the water was too cold. One of the dogs got cramps in its legs and started drowning. The owner quickly noticed it and rushed to its aid. The fishermen saw a bear in the water. It had a can on its face. They stopped fishing and swam closer to help the poor animal as soon as possible, despite the fact that the bear could have been aggressive. The young raccoon got frightened by something and decided to hide in a basketball hoop, but it got entangled and couldn't get out. The teenagers tried to help the animal, but it didn't let anyone come close, so they had to call the rescuers. Now the raccoon can enjoy its life again. Many people would see a female wild boar as a threat, but this man saw her as a caring mother who was begging for food for her children. The man gave his entire catch so that she could feed her little babies. The cormorant couldn't eat and lay almost motionless. Fortunately, the veterinarian quickly realized what was wrong and pulled the plastic bottle out of the bird's throat. This man is just a photographer, but that day, he was a real hero who saved the life of an eagle stuck in the mud. The bird had the dirt washed off of it, it was fed, and then released back into the wild. It's hard for wild animals to overcome their fear and ask help from a person, but sometimes they simply can't do without it. For instance, this coyote was dying of thirst. This snake wasn't feeling well, so it was taken to the specialists. When the vets began to remove the foreign object, they were very surprised. It turns out that the snake had swallowed a towel. The poor fox lost hope of getting out of the canal of icy water. But fortunately, there are many kind people in this world, and the animal was rescued. The duck was on the road with its brood. The bikers noticed the birds and tried to get them to safety, but nothing came of it. Then the men decided to pick them up, but the mother duck got frightened and flew away. The ducklings were caught, while all the drivers on the freeway stopped to participate in this special operation. Thus, the bikers managed to return the ducklings to their mother, and the whole family was safely reunited. The fox was crushed by a large stone. Thanks to this man, it was finally set free. The polar bear's tongue got stuck in a tin can, so the animal was on the verge of death. Its last chance for salvation was going to people for help. The polar bear came to the meteorologist's house, but they were unable to remove the jar. Therefore, they called the rescuers. The animal got surgical help and was then released back into the wild. The polar bear found itself in a dangerous situation at the height of 9 meters. The animal had no chance of surviving, but fortunately, people came to its aid. It took a helicopter and several brave rescuers to save the animal. The young man wasn't afraid to jump into the cold, deep river because he was the only one who could have saved the drowning deer. When the animal was pulled out of the water, it wasn't breathing, but it was resuscitated, and now the deer's life is no longer in danger. The kangaroo found itself disoriented in the middle of a deep river. The people in the boat noticed the animal and rushed to its aid. It was dangerous to try and pull the animal onto their boat, so they brought it to shore while holding its paw. It is unlikely that this coyote could have survived if the captain of the ship hadn't changed course and tried to save it. The camel was up to its chest in quicksand. Thanks to the combined efforts of several people, it was pulled out. The deer got stuck in the swamp and ran out of strength trying to get out on its own. The hunters found it when it was virtually on the brink of death. It took 5 adult men a lot of effort to pull the animal out. What they did is definitely worthy of respect. The calf was in danger on the thin ice. People couldn't save it the usual way because it was too risky. So they came up with an idea of pushing it with the air current from the helicopter. Surprisingly, it worked. The deer lay in the swamp for so long that it had already resigned itself to its fate. But some kind people decided to help the animal and helped it get back to its life. Friends, that's all for today. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and remember that our quick reactions and actions can save the lives of even large and strong animals that can't always get out of tricky situations on their own. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.